In 1884, Annie Oakley joined Buffalo Bill's Wild West show and began a path that would change her life. On stage, her pinpoint accuracy became the main attraction, drawing applause and headlines. From town to town, her name traveled the world, making her a symbol of talent and courage in the American West. Belle Starr, born Myra Maybelle Shirley, saw her story shaped by the press, like so many other figures from the past. Raised in the southern U.S., she grew up in Missouri. Between parties and schooling, she got close to the James and Younger gangs, and that circle pushed her life toward crime. In South Texas, near Rialtos Duval, the creation of Company D of the Texas Rangers produced a scene that stuck in memory. At the front, two Rangers stood out as leaders of the moment. They wore their knives in plain sight, ahead of their pistols, a gesture that showed method, priorities, and the tense mood of a force being born. Before we keep going, click subscribe and hit the like button. On February 16, 1887, 12 Texas Rangers lined up in front of a grocery store in Cotulla. The scene, tense and methodical, shows a curious detail. At least 4 of them wore boots with V-tops. The simple, direct framing reveals how their clothing helped tell the codes of that time. In the 19th century, Texas Ranger Andrew Jackson Sowell recorded his experiences in a book published in 1884. Among its standout details are V-topped boots with stars and intricate stitching. They call to mind Curly Bill Brocius's boots in the film Tombstone, 1993, and capture the aesthetic spirit of the Old West. In 1887, a photograph captured the face of Ira Otten, a Texas Ranger known for navigating conflicts and risky missions. In the image, beyond his steady gaze, you can see signs of his style and gear. Like many Rangers, he wore his knife in front of the holster, a gesture that shows constant practice, technique, and courage. In hard rock mines, the work ran in the shadow of danger. 2 risks weighed heavier than the rest: pockets of gas that could ignite and blow everything to pieces, and sudden cave-ins capable of trapping whole crews or hurting them before anyone noticed the warning sign. There, any shift could change a fate. Diane Lane earned critical praise and an Emmy nomination for playing Lorena Wood, a prostitute with a generous soul at the Dry Bean. In the series, Lorena stands out as a complex presence. She faces losses, keeps her plans alive, and, despite the harsh setting, buys the ticket that might get her out of town and open a new path. In 1883, the town of Cody, Wyoming was named in honor of Buffalo Bill Cody. The choice recognized the power of his influence and the mark he left on the region. By then, Cody was already a legendary figure, both for buffalo hunts and for shows that packed arenas all across the American West. Before we keep going, click subscribe and hit the like button. In 2023, the city of Prescott, Arizona, celebrates 136 years of Prescott Frontier Days, known as the world's oldest rodeo. From June 28th to July 4th, the arena comes to life with classic events, shows, and meetups that breathe the Old West. A full week of competition, history, and energy. At Vera McGinnis's debut at the Great Circus at Madison Square Garden in New York, the audience held its breath. As if she'd stepped out of an old postcard, she rode into the ring at a gallop on a black stallion. Her outfit, with a skirt brushing the ground, set the scene. When she lifted the reins, the whole house gave in. During the California Gold Rush, many women migrated with different trades and goals: seamstresses, cooks, shopkeepers, teachers. Far from the stereotype of prostitutes or gamblers, they opened paths. On frontier stages, singers, dancers, and actresses had an edge. Art turned into livelihood and access to opportunities. Between 1879 and 1883, the outlaw Black Bart left his mark on Northern California with a series of robberies. His targets were the stagecoaches crossing the Russian River Valley in Sonoma and Mendocino counties. He became famous for his method: calculated approaches, clever tricks, and disguises that confused his victims. Raquel Welch entered the movies in 1965, starting a career that quickly picked up steam. In 1968, she took a decisive step. She was chosen to play a role in the Western Bandolero. From then on, her on-screen presence solidified, and audiences began to associate her name with memorable characters, opening doors to challenging roles. With the Red Light Abatement Act in 1913 and Prohibition in 1920, the city saw the very things it wanted to eliminate grow. The restrictions pushed businesses into the shadows and created a profitable underground market. Clandestine prostitution and alcohol smuggling thrived and propped up the underground economy. Before we keep going, click subscribe and hit the like button. In the 1870s, a photograph captured Gus Gildea, a member of the Texas Rangers. The direct, suggestive portrait highlights clothing and posture tied to frontier life. The V-topped boots stand out, practical for rough terrain and admired by the men of that era. In the images, one detail stands out: the way one of the Rangers carries his knife. Look at the operator on the left. He positions the blade in front of the holster, a deliberate choice. That way, he keeps the tool at hand and cuts down on movement, ensuring a quick draw when things get tight, without losing control. In 1878, photographer M.C. Ragsdale recorded two scenes that crossed time. The Texas Rangers, under Captain Dan Roberts, gathered at a camp. Set on the outskirts of Fort McCavitt in Menard County, the camp shows the patrol's daily life and the tense mood of the old frontiers. In Lee County, hard times shaped James S. Scarborough. Known for his accuracy with a six-shooter, he became a reference point as banditry grew. From that reputation came trust. Elected sheriff twice, he brought his marksman's experience to curb violence and impose order, leaving his mark on the county. In 1878, James B. Gillette appears in a photograph on horseback, steering Deaver with a firm hand. The scene announces the Ranger who would become a symbol of the Texas Rangers, a force that patrolled the border and fought gangs in the West. His work left a mark on the Corps and stayed alive in public memory for decades. In the 19th century, in the 1800s, Grand Encampment, across the wide fields of Wyoming, went through a growth spurt. The Old West's momentum guided its streets and businesses. The gold fever opened the way, and copper mining cemented its prosperity. In a few decades, camps turned into shops and workshops, and the town took shape. In 1872, the creation of Yellowstone National Park, along with the expansion of railroads across the western United States, changed tourism in the region. With easier access, its landscapes and hot springs entered travelers' itineraries, and more people came to explore and relax in the warm waters. Before we keep going, click subscribe and hit the like button. At the ZT Ranch in Pitchfork Park County, Wyoming, a cowboy sets the pace for the herd. From sunrise to the end of the day's work, he guides, identifies, and records each animal, watches for signs of illness, and steps in when needed. By tracking vaccines and pastures, he chooses routes and care, keeping the ranch moving. Known as the Wizard of Public Relations, always in his Stetson hat, he was key to taking Buffalo Bill to the world. By shaping stories, creating events, and steering media attention, he turned Cody into an international phenomenon and cemented his own name as a symbol of the American frontier at the end of the 19th century. Born in Ireland, Lola Montez crossed the Atlantic and between 1851 and 1853 became a sensation on U.S. stages. From the East Coast to the West, her act earned space and buzz. With a strong presence and her own rhythm, she won a loyal audience and built prestige in the country's theater scene. In Cripple Creek, at the height of the gold rush, nights were hot and the stage drew crowds. To perform without breaking social conventions, performers and dancers wore aprons over outfits seen as daring. The extra piece covered their ankles and, in doing so, avoided awkwardness and kept the audience comfortable without a fuss. In a time of insecurity, women took up home defense. In 1901, one scene captures that. An anonymous young woman pictured with a half-stock rifle faces danger. The gun, new for the time, made firing easier and expanded the reach of those who needed to protect themselves. In the painting, her steady stance seals the message. We've reached the end of our video. Subscribe to our channel and leave a comment if you enjoyed the content. See you next time.